Hello, everybody, and welcome to my new podcast, Esme's Country Life. I've been wanting to make a podcast for a while now, and I thought this would be a really good place for me to just sit down, have a little bit of a chat with you all about everything that's happening, especially as a lot of the content nowadays that creators make is very short format, and I love listening to just long format people chatting, especially just in my day-to-day life if I'm like, I don't know, cooking a meal or cleaning my tack or just doing chores. I love listening to podcasts, and I just thought it would be a really good place to update you all on everything that's happening, because I feel like a lot has happened. So today I'm going to be talking about Joey's recovery and me bringing him back into work, how the cottage is going, because a lot has happened with that recently, and just like what I'm getting up to and what it's like to be a content creator, and also what it's like living in the countryside. That's why I decided to call it Esme's Country Life. I came up with lots of different names, but I thought this would probably be the best one. Of course, there's going to be stuff about horses as well, but I feel like this gives it an overall kind of sense of what's going to be happening. But anyway, also, before we start, you can listen to this podcast on all your normal podcast listening to platforms, so YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the rest. But anyway, let's get into what's been happening with Joey. So if you've been following my social medias channels for a while, you'll know that back in the beginning of December, Joey had a really nasty injury. Pretty much, like, not to be dramatic, but he pretty much, like, there was a few stages where we thought he was going to die. Luckily, he's all good now. He's been on box rest for so long, and I've done lots of different bits about, like, box rest and how I've been dealing with that. But finally, we have got to the stage where we can bring Joey back into work, which I honestly didn't think I'd be saying this, so that is amazing. So yeah, we basically, me and my instructor Felicity, we were like, okay, we need to game plan this, because obviously before we took him to the vets, they had to check him all over, make sure that he was all good to go. So we got the all clear from the vets, and we're like, okay, let's try and kind of do this a little bit like Joey is a young horse that's never been ridden before. So I took him to Felicity's because he has been on box rest for a while. When we first took him out in the field, it was really weird. Like, he wasn't quite my normal Joey, because I think he'd just been in this box for so long, and it was like, oh my goodness, there is an outside world. And he didn't like it when I left him. Like, he would honestly start like crying, or like if I ever like got up to, or because I just sat down in the field next to him because it was a sunny day, but if I ever like got up or like tried to walk away from him, he would get really distressed. So luckily he is at the stage now where he doesn't find it distressing going out in the field. We didn't know if that's because he had his injury in the field and he has a bit of PTSD from that, or if it's because some horses, if they're kept in a box for a very long time and they don't see the outside world, it can feel very sort of overwhelming and they don't feel very safe. And obviously when he's around me, he must feel safe. So anyway, he is doing a lot better now. We sort of gradually started leaving him out for a little bit longer. We put him in a different field as well. He hasn't been in the set. No horse has been in the field since that he had his injury, and we're just kind of steering that clear for a while. So anyway, yeah, he's doing a lot better. We put him out next to Casper the second time. Before he was with Mickey and next to Mickey and Duke. Gave him loads of haylage, and he seemed really settled. And I think he's just feels a lot calmer out in the field now, which is great. So it's just been so nice to see him be like a normal horse again, be out in the field, grazing, rolling. He did a lot of rolling when we first let him out. He was like, oh my goodness, it's been so long since I've got muddy. So he had a lot of fun doing that. But yeah, we decided in the end, because he was a little bit nervous being out in the field, being out in the open, we would take him to my instructor's Felicity's for his first ride back, because she does have an indoor, and also she is like a 5-star eventer. She's a very high qualified and very knowledgeable horse person, and I wanted someone else to be with me when going through that whole process, because I care so much about my horses, and the last thing I want to do is rush anything or do anything wrong. Like, especially with Joey now, I just want to wrap him up in bubble wrap and keep him safe forever. So we took Joey to Felicity's, and we lunged him first, just kind of had a little look at how he was moving. This was the first time she saw him moving as well, so that was really nice. And we were honestly both so shocked about how well he was looking, how much muscle he still had. I think that's from all the sort of in-hand walk work we've been doing with him, that the vets recommended, and just keeping that muscle mass, and also keeping him on the same feed that he was on before, because he needed that feed to not only to heal, and you know, all his body was using all that power to do that, but also to keep that muscle mass as well. So he's actually looking really good. He doesn't look like he's been on box rest for ages, and also he's seen the physio a lot. Our physio has got like best friends with Joey now. I mean, she loved him before, but now yeah, she saw him probably about every 2 to 3 weeks. She would come over, and it was really nice actually having someone come over and see how he was improving and being like, oh my goodness, like the swelling's gone down so much on his leg, or just like little things like that. When you see a horse every single day, you don't really realize like the little changes, but when you have someone that sees them not like often but not as often, they can really see the difference. And she was like, oh my goodness, he's looking so much better and all that kind of stuff. So that was really nice. But yeah, so we had the physio kind of helping us throughout that. Obviously lots of vet calls, vet visits, that kind of thing. But anyway, back to where we were. We got the all clear to ride Joey. We lunged him first, and then we decided to use some side reins on him. Is it side reins? My brain's got a little bit blank now. Yeah, side reins. So we did some walking kind of behind him with 2 sort of lunge lines through, and that's the first time I've ever walked him like that before. That was quite interesting. It felt very strange. If you've never done that before, the most similar thing I can describe it to is like driving a carriage. I think it was at the Pony Magazine Big Day Out. I had a little go at driving a carriage for the first time. Like, I was going to say on stage. It wasn't really on stage. It was in an arena, but there were loads of seats like around, so everyone was watching. So that was quite a cool experience. Anyway, back to Joey. I'm very good at going off topic, so I'm going to have to be quite strict to myself. But anyway, so yeah, we long reined him. We had a little walk around, that kind of thing, just getting him used to having tack on again, because number one, that is something that he's not had on for like almost, was it 4 months? It was 4 months since I last rode him, which is quite a long time. I know like sometimes young horses have a little break, and that's kind of how we kind of treated it as, even though he's not that young anymore. Like I still call him, I think I stopped calling him Baby Joey when we got Duke, because for ages I just called him Baby Joey because I did get him when he was a little 5-year-old. I feel like I was looking back at photos from 2020 when I first got Joey, and he looks so different now. I didn't realise when we first got him how scrawny he looked. Like he was so dark. Like his coat has changed a lot too. Like he was so dark. His dapples have really come through. I mean, he looks beautiful. I mean, he's always looked beautiful. He's a very pretty horse. But yeah, he's got so much more muscle. And I think it's so nice to look back and see old photos of your horse and see how much they've improved, because I feel like day to day or week to week, it can be, you don't always feel like you're going in the right direction, or sometimes you have setbacks and you feel like you're not improving. But when you do look over at the big picture, you always are. So that's really nice. So anyway, we kind of walked him around with the side reins on, and we walked him around. It was really good for him to do that because it gave him that confidence of walking forward without somebody leading him, and also, you know, reminded him of how the reins worked as we were using the lunge lines to kind of steer him. So that was really good. And then also just having the stirrups down, like kind of, I was going to say clanking, that seems really dramatic, just kind of wafting in the breeze. I don't know, just having something there like around him, like feeling the tack move around was really good desensitization for having tack back on him. I felt like we were not dramatic, but we made sure that we didn't rush anything. We took everything nice and slow. We didn't want to push anything out of Joey's comfort zone, and the whole time he was honestly just so happy and relaxed. And I think he was just he wasn't buzzing because he was actually very calm, but you could just tell he was so happy and content to be back in work again, to be doing things. So that was really nice. And then it was the moment that I've just been waiting for so long, but also felt like yesterday that I last rode him, because as soon as I got on him, he just felt like home. Like, I know that sounds so cheesy and corny to say, but getting back on him, it felt almost like I'd never had any time off. But also when I look back to that last ride I did, because he did his injury like right at the beginning of December, so I think my last ride was like right at the end of November, which seems crazy to think now it's March and the last like proper ride I had before his injury was in November. But yeah, it felt like a long time ago, and it's so crazy to think, because that was honestly just like a normal day. I was like riding him in the arena, that kind of thing, just doing like a normal little schooling session. And I never would have thought that would be my last ride on Joey for the next 4 months. And it potentially, like, if things had gone a little bit more south, it could have been my last ride ever on him. So if you're riding your horse today, or if you're riding in general, just appreciate every moment, because yeah, I feel like there's this one quote, and it honestly like has not shook from my brain ever since I've heard it. And it's like every ride with your horse is one closer to your last. And I feel like that breaks a little piece inside of me whenever I think about it. Sorry, I'm not going to make this a sad podcast. I'll move on from this. But Joey is doing really well. We were honestly both just so shocked at how well he was looking. So we walked him around, and then I had a little trot. Felicity was like, look, he's looking really good. Let's give him a little trot. We did like the tiniest trot ever. We did 1 lap on both reins, and he was looking so nice. He looked like a little proper dressage pony. And I was like, oh my goodness, Joey, maybe you need to break over the winter more often. No, Joey, please don't do that again. But no, he was looking really good. We left it at that. Since then, I've actually ridden him quite a few more times. Obviously, again, taking everything slow. We first started by lunging him first, just to get him warmed up before I got on his back. And then now we're at the stage where I can just get straight on him, which is amazing. I honestly thought Joey was going to be a wild beast because something I say on my channel quite a bit is he gets the cases of the January, February marches, or the JFMs. And basically it's when in January, February, March, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere where it's winter then, your horse will probably be the most crazy wild beast they ever are, because for some reason they get the wind up the bum, it's cold, it's muddy, they don't have as much turnout because the weather is awful, and everyone's just a little bit fed up. And I feel like Joey would always have like an alter ego in that sort of time of year where he would find everything very exciting, would just be, I don't know how to describe it, but just be a little bit more sharp than normal, a little bit more spooky, which sometimes made things a little bit interesting. That was a few winters ago, was when Joey was acting a little bit like that, was when I lost my confidence quite a bit. So often over that sort of period of time, I do give my horses a little bit of a break from jumping. Actually, not so much Casper, although Casper's getting older now, so I don't jump him like I used to, but Casper's actually better in the winter. Casper is one of those horses where in the summer he is what I call potato mode. He is so lazy. He just he enjoys what he does, but he just does everything minimal effort. Like if I jump him, he's like, I'm only going to jump 1 centimetre higher than the pole because why do I need to jump any higher? When in the winter he's like, oh my goodness, let's jump like half a metre above the fence. Like I'm going to show my scopy moves, that kind of thing. Like it is really interesting how horses are different depending on the time of year. So I always feel like you don't really know a horse until you've had them a whole year and have ridden them through kind of every single season. So Joey is actually remarkably very calm. I think it's maybe also because like he's probably not as fit as he normally is this time of year because he has been on box rest for so long, so maybe he's just finding everything a little bit more hard work. Like in our schooling session the other day, I had another lesson with Felicity and we did some poles with him and he really enjoyed that, but afterwards, oh my goodness, he was so sweaty and I was like, he is kind of back in work now, like do I clip him? Do I not? Because I'm like, if I clip him and then suddenly he gets to the JFMs again, he's going to be fresh. He's going to be a fresh boy. But then again, like we're going into March, April. We're going into spring. Like he's pretty much molting already. So it won't be long till he gets the summer coat. So I think for now I'm just going to leave it, especially as he's not in like hard work or anything like that. We're taking things very slowly and I don't want to rush anything either because it wasn't like he had a tendon injury. So tendon injuries take a lot longer to heal. He just had his wounds that needed to heal and come over, and like he wasn't allowed out for so long because we were so worried about his wounds getting infected in case they weren't properly healed over and then mud getting in there, because the fields at the moment are awful. They are so muddy. But anyway, Joey is doing very well. We're going to be, slowly bringing him back, so I will keep you updated on how that's going. But fingers crossed, so far he is staying nice and calm, which I'm not mad about. I'm very happy about it. So the next thing I need to update you all on is the cottage, because I feel like the two questions I get asked most is how are the horses, or how's Joey, especially recently, how's Joey, and how's the cottage going? So the cottage has improved so much since I last posted my last sort of cottage renovation video. So the scaffolding is now down, which is very exciting. I feel like that scaffolding has been up for so long. It was pretty much as soon as I got the keys to the house, I got a builder in to check. Well, I got a builder in because I wanted to redo the bathroom, and luckily because my house, I got my offer accepted in May, but didn't get the keys until November because I had to go through the whole probate process, which I might talk about a little bit more in a different podcast. But there was one stage where I almost lost the cottage because all the mortgage rates changed in the UK and that kind of thing, and then I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So I am very, very lucky that, number one, I have the cottage, and number two, that I'm able to afford the cottage. But because I had all that time waiting for the keys, I managed to save up enough to redo the bathroom, because that was the one room that really needed redoing. Like online, when I looked at photos and things of it, there was no photos of the bathroom. But anyway, so I had this builder in to redo the bathroom, thinking about I've got like a little hole in one of the walls as well, where the bedroom kind of goes into the dressing room, and so I needed a builder to come in to just make sure that they could do the hole for that as well. It sounds really weird. I should really think of a better name to call it, because I'm like, oh yeah, the hole in my bedroom, like that sounds a bit dodgy. So maybe I should probably call it like an archway or like a doorway. But then it's not a door because it's not actually got a door. It's just a hole. So I'll call it the oak archway, which sounds a lot more grand than it is. It's literally just a hole where a door goes, where we've put a bit of oak around it to try and make it look pretty and kind of tie it in together like it's always been there. But anyway, so we had the builder out of that, and he was the reason that when we were kind of like looking around, he was like, girl, this cottage, like, I know that you knew that it was going to need a bit of work, but this needs a lot more work than expected. Like, she was like, yeah. So he was like, okay, you see these oak beams here? And I was like, yeah. It's like, that has been moved. Someone has literally, like, there was one that someone had taken a chunk out of so they could like fit a bed in there. And I'm pretty sure that was our family. Oh, I don't want to be rude, because I don't want to be rude, like, but it's fine. We've talked to our old family friends, weren't the people that I bought the house from, but lived in the house before that. So what's really weird is that I've been in the cottage before as a child, because my brother was like really good friends with their sons, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it shows that, I've stayed very local. Literally 5 minutes away from the horses. That's another question I get asked a lot, like, how far away is it? And I think it's like 2.5 kilometers. Like, I ran there and back once just to go, on a run. Like, I knew the house was for sale because I literally rode past it on one of the horses and I saw the for sale sign. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to go straight to the internet. I need to do some mathematical calculations, because I've been thinking about moving out for a while, but I never thought it would be possible to live in the same village. I always thought I'd have to live out in a town because it is so expensive where we live, but I'm very lucky that it all figured out and there was a house that I could afford locally. So anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about the hole in my bedroom. Anyway, back to that. So the builder was like, okay, they're like, the beams have been moved and shuffled. They've played musical beams in here, which means the house is falling down. Also, we've opened up the bathroom, done the bathroom and that kind of thing. We found a hole. The house is leaking, or the roof is leaking. There's another hole, but it's in the roof, which is the hole that you don't want. So I think somebody, I don't know who this was, but somebody put some pond liner over the hole. Like, somebody knew about this. I don't think it was the previous owners. Like, they were so lovely. I'm still in contact with them now, because there are a few, like, being a 100-year-old cottage, there are a few quirks about the house. So every now and again I'll ask them a question, like, hi, I'm really sorry, it's me again. There's just like one thing that isn't like a normal house. Like, could you explain to me how this works? So they're really lovely family, but they have moved quite far away, so it's not like I can just go, knocking on their door or anything. But anyway, so I messaged them quite a bit, but they're lovely. Anyway, back to the pond liner issue. So yeah, there's this pond liner, and he was like, girl, we knew that the bathroom was a little bit black mouldy going on in here, so it needed redoing, and a few of the tiles were like cracked and falling off. And then it was like, yeah, we found a hole. And then we found out, because there's a hole and because this pond liner was there, which pond liner is not breathable, like the breathable membrane you're supposed to have in a house roof is supposed to have some sort of breathability to it. So there was just this dampness entrapped into my bathroom. And then we found out that a lot of the sort of roof rafters were rotten because of this water leaking through. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. So within a few weeks, I had a cottage that I had basically put all of my life savings into, have got in debt to buy, basically be on the verge of crumbling and falling down. And then my pride and joy, my child Joey, ends up in hospital and almost dies. So it's been a bit of a dramatic time. And then all just before Christmas as well, which is a busy time for everyone, but also being a content creator, that is literally like the busiest time of year, because a lot of brands want to work with you and things before Christmas and that kind of thing. But anyway, so December was a lot, but it's now the spring. I feel like I'm now in this sort of stage where everything's gone a little bit wrong, but that's just life. Like life in general, like you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have times where things don't go right. And now everything's kind of coming together. I'm going to touch some wood now. I'm not superstitious, but you know, I feel like I've had my fair share of bad luck. So hopefully it feels like everything is coming together now. So the roof has been fixed. It was actually quite scary seeing the full-on roof being taken off the house, seeing, you know, literally the attic from outside. So the builders did an absolutely incredible job on that roof, and we managed to reuse a lot of the tiles as well. So because it is a 100-year-old cottage, I don't want it to look like I've just like come out here and like slap loads of new stuff on it, and you know, might as well go and live in a new build. So for the like same price. But anyway, so we managed to reclaim a lot of or reuse a lot of the tiles, and then we got some reclaimed tiles. So what they did was, which was really clever, the side that faces like the road, even though it's really far away from the road, but like the front of the house has like most like all old tiles on, and then the other side has some of the old tiles, because obviously we couldn't save all of them, unfortunately. Like a few of them we had to say RIP, goodbye tiles. But we did use some old like reclaimed tiles where someone's had their roof done and then they didn't keep all the tiles, that kind of thing. So we used those, and it actually looks so good. Like it's kind of sad in the sense that I've had the whole roof redone and it looks exactly the same. Although it does look smarter. Like my roof isn't wonky now, so that's good. And it's a lot warmer because we've insulated it, so that's good. So I've added, you know, value. And oh my goodness, I was painting in there the other day and I did not realise how much this roof insulation has made a difference. Normally, when I was doing all my cottage renovation videos, if you've seen them, I'll be there wearing like fleece-lined leggings with jogging bottoms on top, with like a million layers, a coat inside, with like a bobble hat on. So I went to the cottage yesterday. That was like one of the first days where I've been there since they've kind of completed everything. So I went in there yesterday with all my layers on, thinking I'm going to be freezing, but it's fine. I can like take stuff off as I get warmer and I start working and painting and that kind of thing. Because I like part of the channel, like I feel like I kind of like make things difficult for myself sometimes. But anyway, I've been kind of taking you guys along with me, showing you the whole process of me doing the cottage up myself. But anyway, so I literally walked in the room and I was like, oh my goodness, it's pretty toasty in here actually. And then I think I was like 5 minutes into painting and I was like, no, I'm going to take my fleece off. I'm going to take my jumper off. And I was just there in a t-shirt. And I did not realise how much of a difference that made. Also, the dormers, which are kind of like the sticky outy windows, they had no insulation in at all. So I feel like that's made a huge, huge difference to the cottage as well. We're now kind of in this weird busy pit. Like, so the cottage needs a lot of decorating. And basically it's got to the stage where everything is almost done. We haven't been able to do some things for a while because we had to wait for like electricians and plumbers and that kind of thing. So the electrician has finally finished like all the bedrooms upstairs, because there was a few plugs that needed rewiring and lights and that kind of stuff. But we're now at the stage where all I need to do is painting. So I've gone and been like, okay, this week is going to be the week of painting. So I've booked in my carpet guy, because the house also needs new carpet because there was carpet moth or carpet beetle. So the carpets were infested. So not only did I have a house that, you know, was falling down because it was structurally unsound, had a roof that was leaking, rafters that were rotten. It also was infested with these like moth beetle carpet things. So we've had to take all the carpet out, but we're kind of in this busy stage of trying to get everything painted before the carpet guy comes. So that is the plan for this week. So probably after filming this podcast, I've got like a reel that I need to film, but then as soon as I've done that and had my lunch, I'm going to be bam into painting mode. That's pretty much all I did yesterday. I did a lot of painting. So we managed to pretty much finish the bedroom and the dressing room. We just have the spare room left to do now, so, which is going to be the office. So we are getting there. We've been very efficient. I feel like recently, well, I feel like that's just life being an adult now. Just it's always non-stop. You've always got something to do. So there's always like a everlasting kind of to-do list. As soon as you've crossed one thing off, you've got like 3 more things to add. But we're getting there. The house is coming together, which is really, really nice. Talking about things that are coming together, you might have noticed, I don't know, I've been kind of sneaky about this. In like some of my videos, I've put a new like intro or outro. So I've done like a coming up in today's video, which I feel like is a little bit more interesting, so people can kind of see, you know, what the video's about a little bit more, because I feel like with YouTube it's so tricky, especially if I do like a vlog and there are so many different topics I talk about or so many different things, and you're like, how can I make like a whole half an hour video or 20-minute video into like a few words for the title and 1 photo for the thumbnail? So I've been enjoying that. I feel like that's quite nice. And also I've got a new logo, which is very exciting. So I actually have a new website, and the website designers helped me kind of design a new logo. Like I came up with some designs myself, and they came up with a really good idea, which is I just wanted everything to be like a little bit more fresh, a little bit more clean. We've had the old logo for quite a while now. People probably don't know this, but I had like an old logo before that, back when I was like 15, which was still in like a hexagon, but it had like 2 hexagons around it, and it was very kind of straight, right, like block kind of writing, and then I made it a little bit more fancy, and then now we're at the stage where I've decided like the this on this Esme is a little bit smaller, so the Esme kind of stands out a little bit more. Like the channel and all my socials will still like be this Esme, but I think it's just quite nice that people kind of know that Esme's a little bit more my name, because every now and again I get people ask me like, is Esme actually my real name? I'm like, yeah. So and also like when people come up and say hi, they're like, oh hi, this Esme, and I'm like, you can't just, you know, like I obviously don't say this because I'm not rude, but in my head I sometimes think, you know, you can just call me Esme, like you don't have to say this Esme. But anyway, so that's quite fun. Also with the new website, one of the reasons why we decided to redo the new website, like I've always had like a website just because I don't want anyone to nick the URL of like this Esme. It used to be .co.uk, but now it's .com, so we have both of those. That's quite exciting. But we kind of needed like a place just like as a landing page, so if it's like parents or people like being like, or brands being like, who is this girl, like it just has a little bit more information. But on there was some really old photos, like I must have been like 16, 17 in a lot of the photos that are on that old website. So now it's been redone. It looks a lot more professional. It's got like a little video that comes up when you first load up the website, which is some of my favourite clips, which is very cool. It has like an about me as well, because I get asked a lot of questions about things, or if maybe people are new to my social media channels, they can find out a little bit more about my story, about the horses. My favourite thing is there's like a little bit on there, and it has all of the equines like names, and it has like the year that they were born, but then if you hover the mouse like over the pictures or click on them, it says like a little thing about them. And then there's one and it says like, I'm looped in with the equines, but for me it just says human. So I thought that was quite cute. And yeah, there's also like a frequently asked questions, because I get asked like a lot of questions like that are very similar. So I feel like the question I do get asked most though is, what is my favourite Lemure colour, or my favourite colour in general, or favourite colour saddle pad. So if you really want to know, ever since the new spring summer collection came out, I've got to say I think it is the wisteria. I do love a lilac, although I'd say my favourite colours are they kind of swap between lots of different things. I really like lilac. I really like a sage green, which is kind of the new branding of the podcast and stuff, and also like a baby pink. I feel like the whole of my cottage is sage green, baby pink and cream. They're sort of the colours I've gone for. So there we go. Those are sort of my favourite colours, but I've always had like a soft spot for lilac. Like my bedroom growing up as a kid was lilac. So there you go, like a very pastel-y purple. What other thing? Oh yeah, sorry. Back to one of the reasons why we decided to redo the website is I have a new book coming out, which you know, I hate to be one of those YouTubers that are just like always pushing all the cool things that they're doing and being like, I'm trying to promote my book, guys, but no. So the book, because there's like in most books there's a little page and it's like about the author, and it has like a little thing about, you know, my social media channels and the horses and that kind of thing. And then they were like, oh, can we put your website on it? And we're like, oh yeah, sure. And then we were like, looked at our website and we're like, oh my gosh, I look like a fetus. I look like a baby. Joey is like, has no dapples, And I think most photos of just me and Mickey and Casper, to be honest. Like, there was nothing of Duke. Duke did not exist then. So the website was looking very old. I had all the old branding and things. So I was like, you know what? Feels like everything's coming together now. A lot of things are happening, you know. It's kind of gone, it's like been a very weird evolution of me being from like a 15-year-old that started all of this. Like, I think a lot of people, because I have a very baby face, a lot of people think I'm very young for my age. Like, I still get ID'd in like WH Smith's for buying scissors and things like that. So yeah, I do look, or like in Boots. Like the other day I had a headache and I needed to buy some like paracetamol because I had a headache and I was like, had a migraine, and they're like, do you have any ID? And I didn't have any ID on me, so that was very sad. Couldn't get any paracetamol for my headache because they didn't think I was an adult. But anyway, so yeah, the website's been redone. There's been a little bit of rebranding, and it's kind of been like a really weird stage for me in my life at the moment, because I feel like when you're 18, you're an adult, but you're like a baby adult, if that makes sense. So I've kind of like grown up on YouTube from a 15-year-old, and now I'm turning 22 this year. So we kind of wanted to do like a little bit of a rebranding, but also keeping it like with the pink, very youthful and feminine and that kind of thing. But kind of, it's a very weird process of trying to evolve the brand, but also like not putting off my audience that have been watching my videos for ages, but then also, you know, growing up at the same time. I feel like evolving on social media is a very difficult thing to do. You just have to do it very gradually. Like, I feel like my audience is really difficult to describe as one person. Like, my audience is so broad. Like, I have people from all ages. Obviously, my videos are family friendly, so I have my like younger audience, or I have like teenagers. But also, I'd say like my main audience is probably teenage girls that watch my videos with their mum. So it's very much like a mother-daughter kind of thing. Like, when I do meet and greets, it's often like a teenage girl with their mum coming along, and their mum always wants photos as well. So I would say like I have a very big audience with like the parents on my channel as well. But then there's also people my age that have been watching my videos that are also like in their 20s. Maybe they've just finished university, or they're going through university and missed their kind of horsey fix as they're not with horses anymore, and like to watch my channel for that kind of reason, or because they watched my videos since they were also a teen and have kind of grown up with me and are invested in the horses and my journey, and, you know, updates on the horses and what they're getting up to. So I feel like my audience is very broad. And then also I have a lot of older riders as well. Like, I had this one lady that came up to my meet and greet at the National Equine Show a few weeks back, and she was so lovely. I don't want to be rude and say like how old she was, but she said, oh, I'm retired, I have got back into horses since, you know, my kids have flown the nest and that kind of thing. And she thanked me for like my beginner series. She was like, thank you for making videos that aren't really like patronizing or condescending, that like anyone can watch. And it was just, honestly, like, it melted my heart. It was the sweetest thing. So I have a lot of riders that I call like my born again riders, that maybe have had a family growing up and haven't had enough time or financially have like focused on their children and their family and that kind of thing, and now their kids have flown the nest, that kind of thing, and they've got back into horses, which I think is a really lovely thing. So shout out to all of my born again riders. I think that's what some of them call themselves, or just shout out to everyone that watches my channel, because honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you, so thank you. Talking about that, back to what I was saying. I'm gonna have to do this a lot for you guys, I'm very sorry. Back about the book. So yeah, the book had the website on, which we have redone and kind of done some rebranding. So yeah, we finally got the website done, because we're like, oh my goodness, yeah, these people are gonna click on, like, search up who I am on this book and be like, who is this child? So the book is very exciting. I am doing a little bit of a book tour soon, which I am very excited about. I'm going back to Ireland, which I love. Team Ireland, you guys are incredible. I feel like the people out there, every time I come to Ireland, I get such a lovely warm welcome, and just, you guys are awesome. So I'm going to Dublin and Belfast to do some signings at Waterstones and Easons, and then I've got 2 signings in the UK, one at Blue Water and one in Piccadilly in London, and they're both at Waterstones as well. So I feel like that is such like a crazy thing to say, like, oh yeah, I'm an author, I'm doing a signing at Waterstones. Like, I would, yeah, if you told little child me that's what I'd be doing with my life, I would not believe you. So there we go. But yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to do my little book promo thing. I feel like I did talk about that at the beginning, but I thought I would, if you don't know what my book's about, I'm gonna give you a little debrief of what it's about, let you know, in case you wanna pick it up. Anyway, it's called the Starlight Stables Gang, and it's about a very diverse group of friends from lots of different backgrounds that have their common love for horses that kind of bring them together in this little gang, and they all go to the same stables together. And I feel like a lot of the stories and a lot of the book is also kind of inspired about my childhood growing up with horses, and I wanted to make a book that when every child is reading it, hopefully they see like a little part of themselves in at least one of the characters. And I wanted to also make it to try and get more kids into horses and more kids into reading as well. So the book is aimed at my younger audience, which is it depends on, the person and the reader, but it's supposed to be like 8 to 12. The kids in the book their ages are kind of like year 7, so when they kind of start secondary school in the UK. And I thought that was kind of like a good age, because it's kind of like, if you are in primary school, you can kind of relate. If you're in secondary school, you can kind of relate. But anyway, back to the book. So yeah, the Starlight Stables Gang, I wanted to create this book to get more kids into reading and more into horses, because I wanted to also make, like, it's obviously a book about animals, it's a book about horses, but it's also about friendship, adventure, and that apparently at the moment there aren't too many books about horses in that sort of age group, so that's why I decided that would be a good idea. But also, like, hopefully there'll be some kids that end up reading the Starlight Stables Gang that don't come from like a horsey family or a horsey background, and maybe that inspires them to take up riding. Because if you've been watching my channel, especially last summer, I went to 3 different charity riding schools where they help young people get into horses or equestrianism that maybe wouldn't be able to if that was due to financial reasons or due to location, if they live in like an inner city and things like that. So that is my dream. Like one of the reasons that like spurs me on to do all this is to try and get more people into horse riding, because it really is an incredible sport. It's done so much for my health, my mental health, just everything, and just my horses are my best friends. Like if I ever have any worries or any problems, like they are the best listeners, because they don't really talk back to you, but also they're such understanding creatures and animals that just, if you need a hug, they'll be there for you. So if you're ever having a bad day, go and give a pony a hug, because that's my best advice. They really are such amazing animals. But yeah, the main plot of the story is a horse goes missing. So there's a bit of a mystery. So you have to find out what happens to the horse. Did they find the horse? Where is the horse? Anyway, there we go. I feel like I've probably talked for way too long. Let me just check my phone. I've been talking for about 40 minutes, so I feel like for episode 1 that's probably enough. So thank you so much for listening to my podcast. Please rate it 5 stars or all the podcasty things. I would really, really appreciate it, because I'd love to do more of these. I love just sitting here and chatting to you all about what's happening, what's going on, and I feel like this is also a really nice way of you seeing like a little bit more into my life, what I'm getting up to. I feel like with other social media platforms, especially so much on everything's sort of short format at the moment, if that's, TikTok or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. And I feel like listening to long format stuff, I just really love. I just find it so therapeutic and relaxing, just listening to one thing, that kind of thing, in the background. There we go. And also just with YouTube, and I really want to get into doing some more vlogs with you guys. Obviously a lot has happened recently that I've been making kind of, I call them, I don't know if I should call them big videos, but kind of like videos about like a main certain topic. Like for example, when my tack room flooded, that was just a whole video about my tack room flooding, or with Joey's injury, that was a whole video about Joey's injury, or the cottage renovation, that's a whole video about the cottage renovation. I feel like this, I can kind of dabble in lots of different things, update you on what's happening, and talk about lots of different topics. So anyway, I'm going to be off now. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Also, a little PS, if you are watching on YouTube, I will be putting some like shorter cut versions onto my YouTube channel, but if you want to listen to the full versions for the next couple of episodes, then please go and listen to them on my just normal, podcast streaming platforms. All you have to do is just go on there, wherever you listen to them, search up Esme's Country Life, and it should pop up. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the next episodes, and I'll see you next time. Bye!